Original versus remake. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971 versus Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from 2005. Let's go through the categories one by one and truly hash this out. First up, the director. The director of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original, it was Mel Stewart. And I know a lot of people might hear that name and think, who is that? And I've actually looked him up, and I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with a lot of this person's work. He's directed a lot of movies in his time, but not a lot of films that I have seen. Let's compare that to the director of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's directed by Tim Burton. Most people hear the name Tim Burton and go, oh, yeah, okay, I know what a Tim Burton entails. I know what comes with Tim Burton movies. And that's true. This guy has made a career off of directing movies with high style, high colors. If this was 80s Tim Burton or early 90s Tim Burton, we probably wouldn't have that same complaint, given Burton's recent fascination with CGI and the technology. But all right, I'm going to give the win for directing to Mel Stewart. Let's move on to Charlie. So the actor that plays Charlie in the original is Peter Ostrom. And this is an actor, a kid actor at the time, who I thought did a great job at playing a normal kid. A kid who not only was normal every day and had needs and wants that everyone can relate to, but he comes from a poor family. He comes from a lesser valued background, and so the way how he becomes excited over the idea of this golden ticket, the way how he frantically searches for the golden ticket, just like every other kid, but this means much more to him. And I think this kid does a tremendous job showing that excitement, showing even the sadness when he doesn't think that he's won. And so that makes you root for him from the beginning. Let's go over to the remake, Charlie, who is played by a very young Freddie Highmore, which is funny because I've gone on to see Freddie Highmore star in things like Bates Motel and more recently The Good Doctor. And so he's grown to be a much more known and better actor as an adult compared to as a kid. I think he's okay as the kid actor. I don't necessarily maybe buy him as much in all of the aspects that I praised Peter for in the original. I think that it's just sort of following the same beats for beats, not doing anything tremendously different or anything special to stand out compared to what I've already seen. So again, I'm going to give the win to the original Peter Ostrom. But now to the main event. I mean, we have a couple other categories to get to, but let's talk about what we've all been waiting for. Willy Wonka. The original Willy Wonka is played by Gene Wilder. And I love Gene Wilder's performance in this original because there's so many layers to it. It's not one dimensional. It's not the same thing over and over again. No, even his introduction of how he comes out and in front of the crowd and he's deceiving everybody and he's acting like he's old and crippled and injured, and then he does the flip and then he shows that he's actually young and youthful and vibrant and has this energy to him. And that's just a great way to introduce this character and not really knowing what you're going to get from him. Also, he appears to be very friendly, especially when he's introducing and showing the group, the families around the factory. But then he has his creepy moments. He has a couple of moments to where you don't know exactly what he's thinking or what's going through his mind. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the scene when he's sending them through the tunnel, and that's where the direction ramps up. But that's probably his creepiest scene. His portrayal of the weird things that he's talking about and describing to them, and all of the stuff going on in the background and how he doesn't seem fazed by it. And then that builds towards the ending of the film when he flips out, when he gets angry, when he loses it on Charlie. And I think that's probably the most real version of him when all the layers are peeled back and he's finally vulnerable and shows that yeah, he is human. He does have different emotions, and he just yells good day sir, and he tries to throw them out. And yes, it was a test, but also you could tell that there was some real pain and real emotion behind that. Now let's carry over to Johnny Depp for the remake. Now, don't get me wrong, Johnny Depp is a great actor. There are countless examples of various films where Depp crushes his roles, crushes his performances, and gives you something different almost every time. But I don't know what was going on with this movie and Johnny Depp. I know that people will disagree with me. I know that there are people who like his version of Willy Wonka or like his portrayal. But I found him to be one note the entire film. And that's the biggest problem, is that there's no nuance, there's no subtlety, there's nothing that to think about or wonder what's going on behind this character's mind. No, it's on the surface, it's in your face. And even Depp has talked about how he channeled or was inspired by Michael Jackson as far as how he portrayed this character, because he looked at it as, well, if a person was essentially raised in a chocolate factory or raised in an environment that you can guess Willy Wonka was, then let's apply it to somebody in real life who was raised in a similar sense, and that's where you get Michael Jackson from. And okay, fine, that might make sense to you and why you chose to do it this way, but is that the most interesting way to portray this character? Now, I know you don't want to do a carbon copy of what came before you, but when his version was so layered, was so different, had so many levels of what was going on behind him and so much mystery behind him, why would you pull back the curtain as much as you do? You have so much flashback backstory stuff of him and his father and why he is the way that he is, why specifically he likes chocolate and candy. And I get it. I do. I know that this is supposed to be somewhat closer to the book, and I know that this is trying to tell you something different about these characters that we already knew and enjoyed, but I don't think they're telling us anything interesting. I don't think that they're telling us anything that I would want to know about this. It all feels like a waste of time. This added backstory makes this film about 20 minutes longer than the original. And I think it just makes it longer for no reason. Longer for the sake of making it longer. And I personally find it a bore to sit through. And it makes me feel bad for Johnny Depp, because I know maybe he thinks he's doing a good job, and maybe even Tim Burton told him he's doing a good job, but I'm sitting here embarrassed watching Johnny Depp using this voice and dressing in this way. I don't get it. I don't get why they chose to do what they did. The Chocolate Factory itself, if you look at the original, I think the practical sets, it makes everything look realistic. It makes it look like a real lived-in place. It makes it look like a place that I could conceivably go to right here, right now, if I could, if I wanted to. And I do want to. The Chocolate Waterfall, the remake, because it's 2005, this is the time and period where especially they loved the CGI that has become the norm, right? I know nowadays you do get a lot of CGI because at this point they've almost perfected CGI, not fully. There are still movies today and shows today that use CGI badly or don't have enough money to properly use CGI. But if you have the money, then CGI can look great. But 2005, we weren't there yet. Look at the Star Wars prequels and tell me how great the CGI looked. No, you see the CGI here, you see how the factory looked and how most of the factory is pure CGI. It does make it look less real, it does look more fake, and it doesn't look like as real of a place. I'm sitting here rewatching this film, and all I'm thinking is the whole time, why did they go so CGI heavy? What they could have done is they could have used more practical sets, more practical props, and they could have maybe just enhanced certain things with CGI. But it's so reliant on CGI. Tim Burton became so reliant on CGI. It almost makes me wonder if a lot of the movies that Tim Burton made back in the 80s and 90s, if he did have CGI available, would he have gone full CGI for a movie like Beetlejuice or Pee-wee's Playhouse or even Edward Scissorhands? Would all of these movies look fake as hell with the backgrounds and with the effects? Would it not have the specialty that goes with these effects when we watch them now if he made them during this time period? I would probably have the same issues with all those movies that I love that I do with this. And so, yes, I know I tried to be unbiased. I did. It might not sound like I did. It might sound like I already had preconceived notions, and I guess I did already have my mind made up. But I did look at this objectively. I did try to say, all right, what are the goods and what are the bads about each film? And I just feel like the original movie is superior. It's superior in every way possible. I don't think the remake has anything that is better or that did anything that made this remake necessary, that made it more accessible. No, I would pick the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory over the remake every time I could. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you agree with me or if you disagree. Does anyone out there prefer the 2005 remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Why? Please tell me why if you do. Hit that notification bell for more original versus remake videos. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.